Good morning. Thank y'all for coming out. I am Councilmember Blake Margolis. Please rise and remove your hats for the raising of the colors by the Rowlett Police and Fire Honor Guard.
Will you say with me the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our heads bowed this morning as we go to the Lord in prayer this morning. Almighty God, you know every veteran by name. You know their deeds, their hard work, their perseverance. You know their needs, both material and spiritually. Please draw each one closer to you and grant them all the peace that passes all understanding, the peace of Christ to rule in their hearts, and the joy of their presence with eternal pleasures at your right hand forevermore. And God, please let every veteran of our nation's armed forces feel truly and appropriately honored by the attention and appreciation of their fellow citizens. Let no one feel forgotten or neglected. Let every man and woman, young and old, feel the deep and enduring gratitude of our nations and its inhabitants. We ask this in your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
You can be seated. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor McKinley. And what a beautiful, beautiful November crisp morning. Thank you all for joining us on this very important day where we honor our veterans. My name is Tammy Dana Bashan, and I am the mayor of the city of Rowlett. And on behalf of all residents of the city of Rowlett, I thank all veterans here today, the local veterans who could not attend, and all of our local sons and daughters presently serving in the military. I extend our sincerest gratitude for your sacrifices and selflessness as you make our country a better place. In 1918, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, World War I ended when an armistice was declared between the Allied nations in Germany. November 11th became a universally recognized day of celebration known as Armistice Day, honoring the end of the war to end all wars. Today actually marks the 100th anniversary of the Armistice Agreement being signed. In 1954, after World War II and the Korean War, this day was renamed Veterans Day to reflect, remember, and honor all veterans who have served in the United States of America military forces. Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, or Marine, 2 years to 20 years, no matter the branch nor the years served, raising your hand and committing yourself to service in the military is a brave and selfless act, and we as Americans are forever grateful. The men and women who serve are ordinary people until they hear the call of duty and answer it. They leave their families, their homes, and their lives, not for the recognition or fame or even the honor we bestow on them today. They fight to protect our country, to maintain our way of life. Your presence here today, and that of people all across America, is a tribute to all who have served in our armed forces and to their families. It is a way to say we remember. From the soldiers who shivered and starved through the winter at Valley Forge, to the doughboys crouched in the muddy trenches of France, to the platoons who patrolled the hazy jungles of Vietnam, and to the young men and women patrolling the mountains of Afghanistan, we remember and honor them all. I would now like to welcome Veronica Hines from the Rowlett Friendship Baptist Church, who will be singing Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieve. How precious is that grace appeared the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toss and snares, we have already come. 'Twas grace that brought us safe thus far, and grace will lead us home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, how precious did that grace appear the hour we first believed. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. 'Cause I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. I see.
How beautiful that was. Thank you. It's now my honor to present the proclamation for the Rowlett Veterans Day. Whereas the freedoms we enjoy as Americans have been purchased and maintained at a high price throughout our history, and whereas our community has been built with the help of Rowlett's veterans, who served their country during peace and war and kept our democracy safe. And whereas Rowlett's veterans, having served in the United States Air Force, United States Army, United States Coast Guard, United States Marine Corps, and United States Navy during the various wars and conflicts, and whereas today Rowlett's veterans serve as representatives of the thousands of courageous men and women who went on dangerous missions in defense of our freedom, and those men and women who followed in their footsteps. And whereas throughout their careers they have served our country and community and earned the respect of civic leaders and affection of residents, joining the ranks of distinguished citizens of our community. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Tammy Dana Bashan, Mayor of the City of Rowlett, Texas, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby extend to Rowlett's veterans our deepest appreciation for their meritorious service and call upon all the citizens to join me in recognizing Rowlett's veterans. Thank you.
Please now join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. I would now like to welcome Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Matt Grubisic, who will introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for coming out this morning. It is my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Captain Roger E. Alexander. Captain Alexander retired from the U.S. Navy Dental Corps officer following graduation from Marquette University College of Dentistry. He served on active duty for nearly 28 years, including 5 years of specialty training, raising to his rank of 06. He was then recruited by Baylor College of Dentistry in Dallas to join their faculty. He served in academia for nearly 20 years. In 2007, Dr. Alexander was recognized as the top pre-doctoral oral surgeon educator in the country. At the time of Dr. Alexander's retirement in 2007, then Governor Rick Perry honored him by commissioning him an admiral in the Texas Navy. During his academic career, Dr. Alexander served as a consultant to several Army and Navy postgraduate training programs. He has published nearly 100 articles, served as a pre-publication reviewer for 6 major journals, and authored or co-authored 5 textbook chapters. Dr. Alexander lives in Rowlett with his 100-pound boxer and volunteers as a Rowlett Neighborhood Crime Watch coordinator. Dr. Alexander has 3 sons, one of which was a West Point graduate and another was a tenor in the San Diego Opera Company. His sole surviving son is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and is a lieutenant colonel and naval flight officer in the United States Marine Corps, currently serving in U.S. European Joint Commands in Stuttgart, Germany. Please help me in offering a warm welcome to Dr. Alexander.
Before I get started, if there's any disabled vets out there, somebody who can't stand for a while, there are some seats available up front here. Feel free to come up. I won't bite. And, because I know that some people have standing difficulties. Thank you, Mayor Dana Bashan, and I appreciate the applause up front because there probably won't be a lot of clapping after I'm done. It's always nice to get that before you start. Probably people will be throwing things. But anyway, thank you, Mayor Dana Bashan. Good morning, honorable city council members, distinguished visitors, all of my military brothers and sisters from all services and their families, dedicated members of Patriot Guard and the Third Watch, our Rowlett police and fire responders, active and retired, and happy birthday to you Marines, 242 years old today. Semper Fi. thanks to Lindsay Prasifica, Rowlett Special Events Coordinator, and her staff for all the work that they went through setting all of this up for us. The city of Rowlett actually ran out of real heroes that were willing to speak, so here I am. Mayor Tammy is trying to cut taxes, so she was looking for a cheap, preferably free speaker, and immediately thought of me. Nevertheless, I'm very humbled to be invited. I kind of feel like a tuba player that's been asked to become the orchestra director. I was originally going to talk on the dangers of melting Arctic ice caps, but I changed my talk to revealing the Starbucks plot to take over the freezing world one cup at a time. So I'm not a warrior. I'm a guy who spent much of his career trying to patch up the wounded warriors. I'm actually a dental specialist, as you heard. I'm called an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. Those are big words, meaning I treated things in the jaws, the mouth, and the face. At the very start of my career, I was honored to treat retired Marine Corps General Chesty Puller. I was starstruck. He was a legend. And I was so honored to be privileged to be one of his doctors, and I was hooked. It was wonderful. The closest I actually came to combat was in 1976 when I informed my wife I was leaving for 13 months in Okinawa, Japan, leaving her 24 hours after our household goods were delivered with 3 small children. It wasn't by design that I missed the action. It just kind of worked out that way. Except for 2 years on board a ship, I spent most of my 28 years of active duty working in 7 different naval hospitals, plus a couple of tours in Marine Corps base clinics. Usually at an event like this, you'll typically hear brave veterans speaking on topics that everyone who's ever put on the uniform already knows by heart. Duty, honor, courage. We hear a lot of talk about PTSD these days. Tragically, it was in the news again this past week. It's a reality reminding us that there are no fun wars. And not all damaged casualties wear visible bandages or walk on prostheses. It's a muted cry for help to an indifferent society that sends our best young men and women into a world of horror and expects 100% of them to come back unchanged. But today, I want to talk about something different. But first, some background. There's a new concern today at a time when our military is at its smallest size in over 75 years, facing new challenges. In a recent survey, 85% of America's young men supported our military, but only 18% would consider joining. The new generation seems less likely to want to leave home and see the world. Many demonstrate an attention span of about 8 seconds and view military service as a last resort. Only 9% of the surveyed enlisted personnel joined because of patriotism, family traditions, or feeling a call to duty. 46% joined for occupational training. In other words, joining the military these days is motivated by needing a job first and a patriotic calling second. Let's look at some more numbers. It's estimated that somewhere around 57 million Americans have ever served in the military. About 1.4 million are currently in uniform, which is about 0.4% of our population. As of 2015, there were 22 million veterans in our midst, a little over 7% of the U.S. population. And 3 states have over 1 million vets. Texas is one of those states. Now remember those numbers as we look at our elected government officials, those who decide when and where we're going to go to war and when our uniformed responders will face the risk of becoming one of those remembered on Memorial Day. The numbers have changed over the years. In the early 1980s, 64% of U.S. Congress were veterans. Today, it's less than 19% who have ever served in the military. Currently, the House of Representatives has 82 vets, and the Senate has 20, only 2 of which are women. Only a handful in Congress even have children that have served or are serving in the military. And our last two commanders-in-chief have not had any military service as they lead us. These are the politicians we've elected to office. I was encouraged after this past week's election because several more vets will be joining Congress soon. To make things even more worrisome, last year, the Army Recruiting Command paid for a study of 33.4 million Americans aged 17 to 24, the so-called Generation Z kids. They're the focus of the Army's current recruiting efforts, which fell several thousand short this past year. The study results were alarming, at least to me. Only 5.7 million in that age group are deemed suitable to enter the Army. The rest are morbidly obese, lack physical fitness, have a drug use history or police record, have mental health issues, or are currently enrolled in college. When all factors are considered, including those, the study concluded that only 136,000 Americans aged 17 to 24 are likely to be willing or fully able to serve in the Army under the present standards. I find that very scary. That brings us to my abbreviated message today. I ask you to briefly forget about the killing, the PTSD, the casualties, the snafus, all of the negatives, other bad memories. Just forget them for a moment, because today I want to focus on the positive. What's overlooked and not appreciated very much, and nearly enough, is that a period of military service is actually very valuable to all young men and women, teaching them many of the basic skills that are essential tools to becoming successful in life. Qualities that are learned faster and more easily during military service than anywhere else. Now, I know not everyone picks up on all of these during their service time. There are folks out there in life that you can lead to a saltwater pool, you can rub them down with salt, you can show them how to float, and they'll sink to the bottom. But most of us who came into the military learned at least some of these basic skills and actually used them in our lives. So it's up to all of us to make sure the younger generations hear about the benefits and rewards of military service, not just the risks. It's up to us vets. Life is like a roller coaster, many highs and lows that often test us. So here's my list of 21 basic life skills that can be learned in military service and can serve you well in that journey called life. Originally, I was going to present this list with several humorous stories and inspirational examples to explain why each belonged on the list, but I've deleted the stories to save you from sitting an additional 15 minutes in the cold. So here's my bare bones list of 21 in no particular order. Number 1, personal discipline. Learning to live your life squared away, well-groomed, looking sharp, remaining fit, being respectful, and having good taste and habits. Number 2, little things matter. You learn by doing little things now, you'll be more ready to do the big things later. Number 3, time management. You'll learn to walk, chew gum, and pick your nose all at once. One of my most demanding assignments in all of my career was when I was at the Naval Hospital in Camp Pendleton, California, where I was not only department head, but I was on call 24/7. I was one of 2 surgeons on call to the emergency room 24/7. I had a residency program to run with 5 residents. I was selected by the commanding officer to be the chief of surgery, so I was responsible for everything that went on in the operating rooms, several surgical specialties, operating room nurses, what have you. And we were renovating the spaces in the department, so I had to coordinate with the architects and builders and so forth in that job. So I had 5 different jobs. It was very demanding, but it reminded me how to manage time. And that's a tool that everyone in the military somehow, sometime, somewhere learns. Getting along with others. You learn to fit in and tolerate those you disagree with, even when you find yourself working with or for someone who's clueless. But that's real life also. You see that in civilian life as well. Learning teamwork. You learn you can do more with several sharing the load than you can working alone. In Canada, they had a contest with draft horses, and the winning draft horse pulled 9,000 pounds. The second runner-up pulled 8,000 pounds. They figured that the two together could pull 17,000 pounds, but they pulled 30,000 pounds. Teamwork. You can do more together than alone. Personal growth, number 6. You learn every day. You don't learn something new every day. You start becoming obsolete. So you actually grow while you're serving in uniform. Number 7, learning about leadership. As you get promoted, officer or enlisted, and you gain maturity, and you learn how to lead rather than follow or just get in the way. Number 8, how to work under stress. You learn that limits you've subconsciously imposed on yourself can be stretched, and you actually can do more and reach higher than you ever thought possible. Number 9, failure plus perseverance leads to success. Each time you fail, you will learn what Coach John Wooten used to teach his ball players. Whenever life gives you adversity, you can choose between being bitter or getting better. Always, always choose better. Number 10, loyalty. Loyalty to yourself, your country, your unit, your shipmates. Number 11, you make lifetime friendships. I still email regularly with my very first dental technician that I served with back in 1964, and also with many of my former commanding officers and department heads who have become lifetime friends. You get a lot of bonding in the military. Number 12, learn to cope by laughing at life. Persons without a sense of humor are like trucks without shock absorbers. You get traumatically jolted by every little pothole in the life road. You can learn to laugh even in times of darkness. Humor is a great stress reliever, and I know personally because it's helped me in many stressful life situations, including losing 2 sons and 2 years ago losing my wife of 50 years. Number 13, making good decisions. Not everyone in the military learns this skill, but the skill is available to everyone who serves. Young men who learn how to ignore the siren songs of the dark side are usually the ones who achieve success in life when they leave active duty. Number 14, being punctual and meeting deadlines. In the military, you quickly find out that nothing angers your superiors more than not having something ready on time or not showing up on time. It works the same way in a job on the outside after you get out. Number 15, how to meet adversity with courage. America will remain the land of free only as long as it continues to remain the home of the brave. Number 16, innovation and adaptability. The traditional military meme, analyze, adapt, and overcome, is constantly being learned in the military and used, but it also applies in civilian life. 17, history awareness. In a recent Wall Street Journal survey, only 40% of those interviewed knew why we fought in World War II or even who we fought. In the military, you're not only exposed to our country's history, but you become part of the history as it happens. And speaking of history awareness, in case you haven't heard, there's an absolutely awesome, breathtaking, beautiful, new $82 million National Veterans Museum and Memorial on the riverfront in Columbus, Ohio, that just opened last month. Google it. It's awesome. Number 18, take nothing for granted. Details matter. You learn that if you let crap happen, it will happen. Number 19, take and give credit. You learn to claim credit when you've earned it and give credit when it's due others. Number 20, honor, admiration, love, and respect for your spouse. We vets could not have done what we did or be what we were and are and served where we served without the unwavering support of our families, our parents, our spouses, our children. They are the reason we do what we do and did what we did. We sacrificed so they could continue to live in a free country. When someone comes up to me and says, "Thank you for your service," I always feel like replying, "Don't thank me. I just put body parts back together. Thank my wife, because she kept my home and family together, which was a hell of a lot harder." God bless our spouses. Number 21, humility. I feel very humble at this moment, speaking before a group like this. Out there are the true heroes and sheroes, frozen solid. Vets don't brag about their service. Their credo is, "It was my job." And through the many years, you've all done your jobs very well without any expectation of praise. Now, I could have listed more lessons, but you get the idea of what I'm talking about. Most of us never realized that we were learning these things until one day after we got out, we realized we were actually using the skills that we learned in uniform to accomplish things. They're coming to take me away. Not every person who puts on the uniform will learn all of these life skills that I mentioned, but everyone that came into the uniform had the opportunity to learn them. We must assure that more of our younger generation hear the message that things learned during military service can pave the road to success in civilian life. In closing, I quote from a 1977 college commencement address given by Theodore Geisel, whom we know as Dr. Seuss. I think it's a wise reminder to leave you with today, especially after this presentation. My uncle ordered popovers from the restaurant's bill of fare, and when they were served, he regarded them with a penetrating stare. Then he spoke great words of wisdom as he sat there on his chair. "To eat these things," my uncle said, "you must exercise good care. You may swallow down what's solid, but you must spit out the air. As you partake of the world's bill of fare, that's good advice to follow. Do a lot of spitting out of hot air, and be careful what you swallow." Thank you all for your service. Thank you for being here and listening to my ramblings. I'm sorry you missed out on some great sea stories and humorous relationships, but God bless the United States of America, and remember December 8th, go Navy, beat Army.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander, for helping us honor our veterans today. I am Councilman Brownie Sherrill, and I'd like to share with you some other ways that each of you could express appreciation to a veteran on Veterans Day. Please consider donating money and/or time to an organization that supports our service members, flying a flag, asking a veteran about their service, writing a note to a veteran, or visiting a VA hospital. All are great ways to honor our veterans, and I encourage you to extend your recognition to our servicemen and women in one or more of these ways. At this time, I would like to ask all veterans present to please stand or raise your hand to be recognized when I call your branch. Army. Wonderful. Navy. Coast Guard. Marines. And Air Force. Thank you all for your service. We have members of our Veterans Resource Outreach Committee, which is the Third Watch Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club and Nine Brothers Motorcycle Club, that are now handing out challenge coins to each of our veterans. So if you haven't received one yet, please raise your hand.
So our Veterans Resource Outreach Committee is comprised of members of various organizations that help our military personnel, and including Life Message and many of the motorcycle clubs and many other military organizations. So it is a new resource that we have here in the Rowlett area, servicing not just Rowlett veterans, but all our surrounding communities. So if you haven't heard about our VROC organization, I believe there's a gentleman that's handing out slips of paper that give information on that. If you could raise your hand, sir. Where are you? Right there. So if you'd like information, if you know a veteran that would like some assistance or would just like to be a part of this, please get that information, and I hope that you will join us in that effort. So thank you very much. Also want to thank Scooters Coffee, who has volunteered to provide coffee for this event, so we appreciate that in this cold weather. And over here to my right, to your left, we have a display from the Texans Fallen Heroes Memorial Wall. So please make sure you take a moment to take a look at that. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you immensely. To our veterans, to the fallen, and to their families, there is no tribute, no commemoration, no praise that can truly match the magnitude of your service and your sacrifice. Thank you for attending today. God bless you and your families. God bless our troops, and God bless America. We will now, thank you, go ahead. We will now close our ceremony with Coyle Middle School Choir, and thank you for being here. It was beautiful. Who will perform God Bless America. Thank you all.